I'll start by telling a story. If you work for Johnson and Johnson, you would know what the Credo is. The Credo is Johnson and Johnson's version of core values. And if you read The Culture Code by Daniel Coyle, it's a great book, so make a note if you haven't. But this story is circulated in there. It's become a little bit more popular, and I love it because it helps to answer that question: what's the value of core values? So at the time, James Burke was the CEO of Johnson and Johnson several years ago, and he considered revising the Credo. Like, this is a really long thing. Does it mean anything? But then in 1982, he had to use the Credo to make an important decision. So if you remember back, to 1982, there was a terrible tragedy where Tylenol, which is part of Johnson and Johnson, had been tampered with, and people in the greater Chicago area were dying. The organization had hundreds of decisions to make. The stock went down to zero, as you can imagine. The company's future seemed pretty lost. But James Burke, that CEO, gave the Credo as his reason for defying recommendations from both the FDA and the FBI, who said, actually, this is an isolated incident. It's just in this greater Chicago market. You don't need to pull shelves across the US. You're fine. And James Burke said, actually, part of our Credo, we believe our first responsibility is to the patients, doctors, nurses, mothers, fathers, anyone who use our products and services. Everything we do must be of high quality. So Johnson & Johnson went ahead and they pulled 31 million pills from shelves across the US and tied it all back to this Credo. Obviously, as you know, Tylenol is still around, so I think this just demonstrates the power that core values have when they're truly put into action. A lot of businesses list core values in some way, obviously not just Johnson & Johnson, and we boil it down to the why around these three things. So organizational core values set an expectation for how the organization interacts with others, differentiates the organization, and provides that point of connection as well. And then, as we saw in the Johnson & Johnson example, provides some direction around decision making. I like this part about tells what the company will and won't do. I think that won't do is almost as important as the will do. And this really ties back to that first objective for today's masterclass that I shared around why core values are important, what's the value of core values. And to get the value from core values, we think your core values have to be great, not just good, not just exist. And the Credo, the Johnson & Johnson Credo was long. We don't help clients author a super long Credo, but it was Johnson & Johnson's way to articulate their values. When it comes to core values, we do need to first articulate them, but they already exist within your organization. So they've already formed naturally. The question is, have you captured them in the most accurate, authentic, useful way? So to do that at Human Works 8, we use this great core values framework. We believe that core values have to be gutsy. So just the real authentic you, kind of from the guts, from the heart. We believe core values have to be unique, unlike anyone else. So maybe some of them don't sound so unique to you, but you do have a unique way of doing it, and your unique combination is what matters. You know, if you work for a bank, for example, the core values at your bank should be different from any bank down the street, across the nation, truly unique in that sense. And then the third criteria for great core values is they have to be active. Core values have to be something that you can do. It speaks back to that direction piece, right? If I can see a core value and there's kind of a verb in it, we use a lot of verbs in our core values. It gives you an idea of what action you can take, what you will or won't or should or shouldn't do. At the same time, so those are what makes great core values. There are some things that we believe aren't core values or that core values shouldn't be. We don't believe core values should be who you wish you were or who you want to be in the future. So this isn't your 10-year target, everybody. This is who you are today. They're not aspirational. We also don't believe core values should be what we refer to as permission to play or table stakes. This is just something that everybody should already be. So an example of that is integrity. Great word, great meaning behind it, but over 50% of Fortune 500 organizations have integrity as a core value or as part of their mission. And another way to think about it, would you hire somebody at any organization, anywhere, without integrity? Probably not knowingly, right? So that's this permission to play piece. We don't want core values to be permission to play. And then lastly, core values shouldn't be occasional. So what I mean by that is not something that you only need to be sometimes, but also not something that only certain departments should be, or like, yeah, everybody lives these core values, except for accounting, they don't really have to, or, you know, the sales team over here really has to live it, but it's okay if the rest of you don't. No, not under our watch in terms of core values. So we don't believe they should be aspirational, permission to play, or occasional. So I want to do a few examples, and I know we're a little shy in the chat, so we'll give it a shot and see where it takes us here. But I've got Microsoft's core values up on the screen. You can see respect, integrity, accountability, and look at that, thinking about those criteria. Are these values gutsy, unique, and active?
I don't see that much activity in them either.
I agree, Sarah. I think these three words are really surface level, right? Are they really the true, authentic Microsoft? I think there's a little bit more that we could draw out. Microsoft has to have an exceptional team, right? There has to be some uniqueness there. And I want to see that. You know, there's that integrity word again, too. I would guess that respect and accountability are maybe also on that Fortune 500 list of pretty common core values. And I think I don't want anybody to misunderstand. I think respect, integrity, and accountability are exceptional things to value. But the point is, how do you do that uniquely? What's the unique way that you show respect, demonstrate integrity, and accountability? So I think there's some opportunity here for this gutsy, unique, and active.